All right. Hello, you two. Welcome to the Into the Stand episode 23. I'm your host for this episode, Robbie Hazel. Alone today, unfortunately, but welcome to your Saturday edition, first ever and likely one of the few ever Saturdays we do this Into the Stands episode, the mock draft edition. Great Saturday here for Accepted Students Day going on here at Iona. But first of all, thank you guys for the great support we've gotten all year so far on our show. It's been incredible. The viewers, the followers we have on Instagram. It's been really motivating for us as a group, and it's been a lot of fun. And we've had so much fun doing the first 22 episodes, me doing episode 23. And of course, our WIUR NFL Draft Special is next week, next Thursday at 7 p.m. is when we kick it all off. With, of course, the college football fanatic will be joining us from 7 to 9. But without further ado, let's do what I'm here to do. Your NFL mock draft hosted by myself. Let's dive right into it. So, my first overall selections with Carolina. And they will select Bryce Young first overall. We've known this for a while now. Bryce Young, a little bit of a shorter quarterback out of Alabama. Great arm strength, very good accuracy. Can find that deep ball very well. A lot of people think he's Kyler Murray now. It's a very interesting comparison because Kyler Murray, a little bit shorter quarterback, has the arm strength, but is a little bit inaccurate at points. They can both move very well. They're kind of similar, but I think Bryce Young would be the better quarterback. But with Carolina and with the additions they made, it's a very interesting move. Of course, they moved up to the number one selection after trading 2 first-round picks, multiple seconds, and DJ Moore to the Bears to move up to the first selection. I think Carolina will get the best quarterback in the draft in Bryce Young. I think how will he fare in Carolina? Time will tell. The second selection, this pick has gone. There's multiple ways you can look at it. And I think this pick can go down to 4 players. You start with Anthony Richardson, the quarterback from Florida, Will Anderson from the defensive end from Alabama. You can go with CJ Stroud out of Ohio State and Will Levis out of Kentucky, both quarterbacks. My selection is going to be Anthony Richardson, quarterback from Florida. Younger QB. He's going to fit this scheme better. This pick was originally going to be Stroud. And the reason it's not going to be CJ Stroud is there's been a little bit of a dilemma over the last couple of days with CJ Stroud with some form of a test that he got a very low grade on. And additionally, his agent is apparently the same as Deshaun Watson's. So that's a little bit of an interesting development. But now this pick goes to Anthony Richardson, the younger quarterback. I believe he's only 20 years old. He's very good, great arm. He had a great pro day. There's like a viral video of when he threw a ball at pro day and hit the roof, the catwalk area-ish in the Florida Gators training facility. So I think Anthony Richardson going to work with D'Amico Ryans. I think that's going to be a great pairing. Anthony Richardson with a great future in the NFL. I think he's going to fare out very, very well. I think he could be the best quarterback in this class if he develops well. So I think if he develops, I think he has the highest ceiling, but lowest floor because of his age. And he's younger than a Will Levis. He's younger than a CJ Stroud. I think with his arm strength, his build, his versatility, what he can do, he can move out of the pocket, he can make a throw on the run. I think Anthony Richardson will be a phenomenal fit for Houston. But now we move over to number 3. This was supposed to be with the Cardinals. Okay. And we have a trade. Yes, this NFL mock draft will have trades today. Apologies for that. Your new third team to be selecting at the number 3 pick in the draft is the Las Vegas Raiders. Move up from 7 to 3, and they will select CJ Stroud out of Ohio State quarterback. He's a quarterback, very similar to Richardson, but he's a little bit shorter. And we all thought going throughout the season that CJ Stroud is going to be the number 2 pick behind Young, or possibly number 1 ahead of Bryce Young. So what CJ Stroud has been able to do and how he's a little bit different than some of the other quarterbacks, CJ Stroud in the Big Ten was really up and down because you saw him have great games against Michigan State. He's had good games against some of the powerhouse teams in college football. At the same time, he has struggled against a Northwestern. He has struggled against a Michigan. So he's very up and down. And I think possibly behind Jimmy Garoppolo, I feel like if Vegas takes him, okay, this could be a very good pick so we can develop. I don't think they're going to actually have to move up throw out that many picks or futures to move up to the number 3 selection. So I think CJ Stroud, with the build that he has and what he's going to be able to do, I think Vegas will get a home run with CJ Stroud, a possible game changer who can maybe sit behind a Garoppolo a little bit, but I think he can be a very good fit with Las Vegas. Number 4, we go Indianapolis keeps their pick and gets the 4th QB off the board. They're going to take Will Levis out of Kentucky, an older quarterback. I think he had a very underwhelming season at Kentucky. I think he struggled against many lower ranked teams in the SEC. Anthony Richardson did the same thing, but Anthony Richardson being younger, I think he has a little bit more leeway, if to sort of say, because with what Anthony Richardson has and what's different, they're both very similar in size, build, what they're able to do. Will Levis has been in Kentucky for a little bit while now. So I feel like Will Levis going at 4, I think is fair. Indianapolis is going to get their quarterback of the future. Hopefully they're better. They're probably one of their best quarterbacks they could have since Andrew Luck retired. So I mean, they can maybe fix their quarterback situation, hopefully kickstart their rebuild of what they're trying to do in Indianapolis. Number 5, the Seattle Seahawks keep their pick, and they're going to get the first defensive player off the board. They're going to get Will Anderson out of Alabama. I think he's the best edge rusher. I think he's the best defensive player in the entire draft, one of the most NFL ready players in the whole draft. He can terrorize an edge. I think he fit on every team in the NFL. I think he can fit in multiple different systems. I feel like he's going to absolutely terrorize the NFC West. I think he's going to be the absolute game changer that the Seattle Seahawks need. They've had a very underrated season. Remember, this pick was supposed to be with Denver, and they traded this pick for Russell Wilson. So right now we are on the number 5 selection. For those who have not been paying attention so far, may have came in late, welcome, by the way. We are at number 5 with Will Anderson going to Seattle. And as we've said, he's a game changer. He's going to absolutely terrorize the defenses in the NFC West. Number 6, this guy could have gone much higher, but he's going to fall to number 6. We're going with Jalen Carter, defensive tackle out of Georgia. I think the situation that he's had, there's a situation where he got, I believe he was arrested. I think if someone in the chat can fix that for me, but Jalen Carter had a little bit of a situation. He's going to fall down a little bit. I think Detroit is going to get another player who I think is going to be very crucial to any defense, really, at the end of the day. Jalen Carter is going to be a physical threat. I think he's going to be an absolute game changer in Detroit. He's going to terrorize that deep inside of an offensive line. He's going to pair up next to Aiden Hutchinson, who I think that defensive line is going to get absolutely rejuvenated with the addition of Jalen Carter. Number 7, this was part of the trade that we mentioned at number 3. This is now the Cardinals who traded with Vegas, and they're going to select Christian Gonzalez, a defensive back out of Oregon. They're going to go best available here. Christian Gonzalez I think Christian Gonzalez or Devin Witherspoon, one of the two of them will go at this pick. I mean, this is going to be your Pat P-esque type of player who's very physical, can get a hand anywhere. They're both tall, and I feel like Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon, I think he's the better corner, and I feel like his coverage skills are better than Witherspoon, but Witherspoon is just as good as Gonzalez. But I'm going to go with Christian Gonzalez at number 7 to the Cardinals. We're going to get probably a decent package, but I feel like trading down would be needed for them since there's going to be a ton of quarterback hungry teams. Team I didn't mention that could possibly trade up to 3, by the way. I forgot to mention this earlier. Could be the Titans, but they don't have the draft capital to really move up to the 3rd selection unless they want to move a player, which I don't see happening because they really don't have many players to trade up to move in order to trade up to that 3rd selection. Number 8 pick, Atlanta Falcons. This has to be a defensive line player. You look at the Falcons and how bad their defensive line is, they're going to get an edge threat. But Tyree Wilson out of Texas Tech, I think he's arguably one of the better players. I mean, all these guys so far could be all NFL ready players, I think, other than maybe Richardson because of his youth. But Tyree Wilson at Texas Tech, I think, is going to be really kickstart that defensive line because look at the names they have. They just signed Calais Campbell. Their defensive line is old, and they're not really going to do much because that's what held back the Falcons last year. I mean, you have Desmond Ridder. This could be a quarterback. Maybe they trade up for a quarterback. But right now, with the way the Falcons are, they want to ride with Ridder again, which I don't think many people understand because he didn't look good. I'll give him that. He did not look very good, but it was only year 1 for him. This will be year 2 with Ridder. I think the additions they made on defense with Jesse Bates, I think, one, that's fantastic. No one expected that. And what they have on offense, I think if Ritter uses London and Pitts, I feel like that offense can be really good. They need to create pressure on the defensive line. I think Tyree Wilson would be perfect for them at the number 8 selection. Number 9, the Bears, who traded down about a month or two ago now. It's been a little bit of a while. They're going to select Paris Johnson Jr., the first tackle off the board out of Ohio State. I feel like Chicago, they've had probably one of the best off seasons in the entire NFL. Getting Tremaine Edmonds, trading down, getting all that draft capital in the future from Carolina, and adding a DJ Moore to continue that really good wide receiver room to pair up with Claypool. I feel like this is may be a little bit of a no excuse season for Jeff Okudah. Good mention with the Falcons, by the way. Good point. But I feel like with Harris Johnson, their O-line, I think, is still kind of mid, as some would say. But I think Harris Johnson, big, physical, I think he's going to be fit very well there and really protect Justin Fields. Number 10, this could be a trade down. This could be multiple players with the Eagles. A lot of experts maybe have Bijan Robinson out of Texas, a running back. Some people say they could trade down and then take Robinson. I don't see that happening. They need to replace CJ Gardner-Johnson. And I think they go with Devin Witherspoon from Illinois. I think Devin Witherspoon, the second best corner in the draft, I feel like he is going to be the perfect replacement. And I feel like he's going to be possibly one of the best Eagles corners we're going to see next year. I think he could be their corner one. I feel like he's that good. Low key. I think Devin Witherspoon is very talented. He's big, physical. I feel like he's going to get the job done. Really change what the Eagles defense could look like. Because the Eagles, they have lost some pieces. They have. I mean, they've kept Darius Slay. That's true. But the loss of Gardner-Johnson will force them to take a corner. I think Devin Witherspoon's the pick here. Number 11, the Titans keep their pick. I was debating about this one for a little bit, and they're going to get an edge threat here, okay, with Lucas Van Ness from Iowa. Now, Lucas Van Ness can play in multiple positions. I feel like if they need him to transfer to defensive tackle, I think he can easily move to that position. He's really good. His main move, a little bit of a spin move to the inside, and he can really come up the middle. He can cover a little bit. You could put him as a QB spy if you really needed to. So Lucas Van Ness out of Iowa, I feel like can help the Titans because, to be honest, I don't think anyone really knows what direction Tennessee is going in because there's the rumors about trading Derrick Henry. They lost Robert Woods, really didn't do much for them last year. They barely fell out of a playoff spot with the team they had and losing Tannehill. I don't know if Malik Willis is the answer. Could they trade up for a quarterback? I don't know. But at the same time, I mean, I don't know. There's not many picks you can go with for a situation like this. So right now, I think this is the right selection to go with Van Ness. Go with another guy who's NFL ready, I think. And I think he can make a big impact in Tennessee. 12 is the Texans again. As mentioned, they took Richardson. This pick would make more sense if Stroud was taking it too. But I'm going to say they draft a wide receiver. The first receiver off the board, he's Jackson Smith-Njigba, a wide receiver from Ohio State. I think is the first receiver off the board. This is your first reach pick, other than the quarterbacks. Jackson Smith-Njigba, I believe, is coming off an injury, but he's quick. He can do a lot of good things. He's a good route runner. A lot of these guys are good route runners, to be honest. But at the end of the day, Texans receiving room, not very good. I mean, they've experimented with Brandon Cooks. They really don't have a really true game-changing wide receiver. I think Jackson Smith-Njigba pairs up with Richardson, and I think that's going to look pretty good in Houston. Number 13, my New York Jets. I want them to take a safety or trade down and take a safety. But recent news from Todd McShay, that's not happening. They're going to select, sorry if I messed this up, Broderick Jones, an offensive tackle from Georgia. This is, in a way to summarize it, you're really banking on Becton not being there again, more or less. I think he's gonna slide in at right tackle. You maybe keep Dwayne Brown. I think Dwayne Brown can possibly be a cap casualty from this. Because if Becton comes back, and if some people think he's that guy still, I think you slide over because your offensive line can feature Tomlinson and Veritag at the guards. You have Jones at left tackle and Becton at right tackle, and I think they may draft a center in the second round. So, I mean, the Jets have 2 second-round picks. I think they maybe go linebacker or safety. Maybe they go center. There's a lot of things the Jets can do in their second-round picks. I mean, who knows? Maybe they trade for Aaron Rodgers. We have no idea, but right now I am banking on them not getting Rodgers at the draft, selecting Jones, getting that offensive tackle that I think can replace Dwayne Brown, even though he had an all right season last year. But I think the Jets do go offensive tackle based on the recent news. New England Patriots, another team that no one knows what they're going to do. And I think they're going to go tackle as well. I think their offensive lines are right. But with a guy like Darnell Wright from Tennessee on the board, I don't think you can really pass on him. I think there are needs for New England. They could go receiver with a guy like a Jordan Addison. They can go receiver with a guy like Quentin Johnson. I'm not saying those picks are not not possible. They are very possible that the Patriots can go out and take receiver. There are multiple players who will fit New England's system at the number 14 selection. There are multiple pieces that can fit there. However, if you're banking on Mac Jones still being there, you need to go offensive tackle. And I think Darnell Wright will be the guy for the New England Patriots at number 14. By the way, if you're wondering why there hasn't been many trades yet, just keep waiting. It's about to get chaos. Just like, because if you remember last year, I think it was, I believe it was the Lions traded up and got, I think it was the Lions may have traded up first or the Saints. I don't remember. I remember the Lions, I think it was right after Garrett Wilson got picked, that the Lions went out and traded up to get Jameson Williams. Someone in the chat can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but that's coming in a second. Green Bay Packers keep their pick. They're not trading down, and they're going to go out and do what they didn't do for Aaron Rodgers and draft a receiver. To pair up with Christian Watson, they are gonna go with Jordan Addison from USC. I think this could be Addison or Flowers because they do not need a guy like Quentin Johnson. They don't. They have their big threat. Their big, taller, physical threat in Christian Watson. Why not go with maybe a little bit of a shorter player? I think this could be Zay Flowers, or I think this is the actual pick I currently have in Jordan Addison. They're both not tall, so I feel like as a wide receiver too to pair up with a guy like Christian Watson, I feel like this would be perfect, and Jordan Addison could be their guy. Number 16, Washington does keep their pick. This is another team I think can maybe trade up for a quarterback, but I think they're going to ride with Howell, and I think they're going to go with Deontay Banks to add to their secondary. Once again, their secondary. This is a guy I really like, by the way. I could pull up something on him because we have notes on these people. Cornerback out of Maryland. At 6'2", Banks is a lean, compact frame with good mass and above average. He's above average length, people. And he may not be elite in the athletics area, but at the same time, if you want a guy who can cover a zone, in that short area, the first 10 yards, he is your guy for this. And Washington, I feel like this is going to be perfect for them. I mean, he's enough ability to go and run with receivers upfield, but at the same time, he's a good athlete. Maybe a little not as good as some of the other corners, but I think Deontay Banks, 6-foot corner from Maryland, I feel like is going to be a good selection here. Next up is going to be the Steelers are on the clock next. And they're going to go with a guy who I feel like could go much later in the draft. I think he can go earlier. I think he could be the number 1 offensive tackle in the draft because of how versatile he can be. Number 17 to the Steelers is going to be a tackle in Peter Skoronsky from Northwestern. At 6'4", 313, he can actually run very well. I'll give him that. But he's a good agility, very quick footwork. I think he could possibly be better than Paris Johnson. I think the Jets could possibly take him at 13. According to Rich Simony for the Jets, I think they're looking at him as well. Well, at Pittsburgh, they need offensive line to protect Kenny Pickett. Now, I feel like Skoronsky will be a perfect fit here at 17. I feel like with what Pittsburgh's trying to do, they've gotten pieces, but you need to protect your quarterback. And I feel like this is going to be a good selection. Skoronsky is going to be a good fit. And we're going to now slide over to number 18. The first tight end off the board is next. The people who know when I was working on this know that I'm not a big fan of the majority of the tight ends in this class. But after rewatching film, one stood out above the rest. Let me pull up my notes on him real quick. Apologies if I'm coming over here a lot now. Scroll through my notes a little bit more. And my man, Dalton Kincaid, 6'3", 246, is going to go to Detroit. This is your T.J. Hockenson replacement. Remember, T.J. Hockenson got traded to the Vikings. I think they got a solid package for him back. But right now, with Dalton Kincaid out of Utah, he's going to be a good pick for them. They do like the tight end a lot in Detroit. I mean, that's how they beat the Jets. If you really want to watch film back, with Dalton Kincaid out of Utah, he's physical. He can run. He's 246 pounds and he can run. Who doesn't want that? Seriously, who does not want a dude who's 246 pounds at 6'3" and can run and can block? He's a good pass catcher, but he does display excellent technique as a tight end. I feel like he's going to be perfect for the Detroit Lions, who love their tight ends. And now, ladies and gentlemen, viewing the stream, it is time for chaos. I said it was coming, and I will not disappoint you. We have a trade at the number 19 selection. Our first trade since number 7 and 3 gang swap. Was that a trade that just happened? Oh, yes. No, that was the trade from Hockenson. That's right. The Lions to get a second and a third next year. So, I mean, they could have gotten more for Hockenson, but I think that's a good get still when what they traded for. And getting Kincaid, a cheaper option than Hockenson, I feel like it's a good fit. But now it's time for chaos. The Giants trade up to 19. I've been debating about this. The Giants need to do this. This is desperation. If you want to you pay Daniel Jones $40 million. We've talked about this on my regular show, Into the Stands, with the whole crew here, that this was a mistake and they should have paid Barkley. This is when you get your wide receiver. They're going to select Quentin Johnson. I think he's the best receiver in the draft. I think he's insane. I mean, let me pull up some things on him, because I think if you're the Giants, you cannot pass on this dude. Absolutely cannot do it. I mean, Quentin Johnson's big, physical. He can make it. You saw him in the college football playoff. You saw in the Big 12 what he's able to do against corners like that. And I think the Giants, whose receiving room, I'll be honest, is not very good. You can add a guy like Quentin Johnson to what they have. Insane upgrade. But at the same time, I think the Giants need to sign Barkley, and if they get Barkley with Quentin Johnson as well, I think that's a home run for the Giants. I mentioned there's more trades. This one will be traded as well. Number 20 selection was originally with the Seahawks. They're going to trade it to Kansas City and select Zay Flowers from Boston College. Once again, a short receiver, but he's short and fast. Literally what Kansas City loves. They had McCole Hardman. They had Tyreek Hill, who both were not that tall and can run. Another guy just like that. This is your Tyreek Hill-esque replacement to work with Kadarius Toney. And I feel like Zay Flowers, he's going to be, I believe, my fourth receiver off the board. I feel like this is the last of the really insanely good receivers in this class. I think Zay Flowers is going to fit well with Kansas City. I bet a lot of people are wondering, where's Bijan Robinson? Why hasn't he even been picked yet? Well, Bijan Robinson's going to go with the 21st pick as we have another trade. The Bucks traded back to 25. Now they're going to move up to 21. I remember, for Bijan Robinson, people are going to ask, why didn't he go earlier? This dude has met with two teams. Two. The Eagles and the Bucks. And Tampa Bay is going to get him. I think this is a good pick for Tampa Bay. They like their running backs. I believe they just cut Fournette, or they've cut running backs in the past. So right now, what they have, I feel like this is going to be a good selection for Tampa Bay. And that's going to solve a couple of problems because that's going to be an elite piece to add to whoever the heck is going to play quarterback for them. Because I feel like they could be the ones possibly in the late first round, maybe early second, to trade up for Hendon Hooker. I feel like it's a very slim chance that Tampa Bay goes through this whole draft without drafting a quarterback. And the reason is you have Kyle Trask and Baker Mayfield. Apologies for that. And I don't think, granted, the NFC South is not very good. It's not. I'll be honest with all of you. NFC South, not very good. But Bijan Robinson terrorizing that division would be an insane home run. They do need to figure out what their quarterback situation is going to be, because I don't think they're going to win many games with Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask at quarterback. I mean, maybe they can draft a quarterback in the second or third round, but I don't know. I feel like they could be ones maybe to draft Hooker at this selection or back at 25. 22nd pick, the Ravens, they're going to keep their pick, and they're going to take Nolan Smith. And their outside linebacker situation and edge has not been that good. So I feel like briefly on Nolan Smith, I think he's very good. I feel like he's going to be a big addition to the Ravens defense. Question is, why didn't they take receiver? Well, one, I don't think they have like much to add to trade out. I think they might trade on draft night. Bold prediction here. I think they trade for DeAndre Hopkins on draft night for a third-round pick. I feel like that's a very possible trade. Look what the Baltimore Ravens have at receiver. You had Rashad Bateman and Devin Duvernay, who I think are all right. You add Odell Beckham on one of the more overpaid one-year contracts I've seen in a long time. And you then go with someone like a DeAndre Hopkins. Odell, D-Hop, and Bateman, I feel like that's going to be one of the more underrated or maybe even overrated, depending on how the situation. What about the Jets and Rodgers? I mean, I'll dive into that in a second. Let me finish with the Ravens pick. I think they get Nolan Smith. I think their outside linebacker situation is kind of underwhelming. And Nolan Smith, who's coming off that injury, remember, he's coming off an injury. I feel like he's going to be very good. The Jets and Rodgers. Okay. Let me say this. I don't think it's going to happen on the draft night. Solely based on Douglas does not like to move a lot of picks. I mean, you saw what this man said about not trying to trade a first for Tyreek Hill, even though Tyreek denied the Jets him even thinking about going to the Jets. I mean, do you really, for Jets fans who know this, do you really think Joe Douglas is going to move a first-round pick for Rodgers? And do you think the Packers are going to not take a first-round pick for Rodgers? So right now, I think the Jets rock Wilson and maybe trade for Rodgers post-draft. I feel like it would be an interesting pick there. 23, this pick can go to really anyone. The Vikings are going to go with safety. This is all I originally had the Jets taking, but Brian Branch from Alabama, I think will be a good pairing with Harrison Smith out in Minnesota. He can cover well. He can absolutely take someone's head off if you needed him to. I'll be honest with you. I feel like it's a good trade with Alabama safeties. I mean, maybe even SEC safeties in general. You saw with Jamal Adams. how versatile he can be. I think Brian Branch could be another guy like that. But I feel like another good comparison for him could be Eddie Jackson from the Bears, even though Eddie Jackson's been injury prone. I feel like Brian Branch would be a good fit in Minnesota, and he'll get the job done there. I bet people are wondering, who does Robbie have a falling a lot just because? Joey Porter Jr. will go next. He's going to go to the Jaguars. Their secondary is not good, or not as if you want to talk about top 10 defense, if you want even to consider Jacksonville building a top 10 defense, corner needs to be addressed. Joey Porter Jr. falling this far, you have to take him. You have to. I mean, Joey Porter Jr. is a good corner out of Penn State. I mean, he's a defensive back is what I list him as. That's what everything I've read personally is listed him as. But I think Joey Porter Jr. is some think he could be the third best corner in the draft. And you get him at 24? I mean, with how many corners have gone off the board, I think that's our fourth corner? Fourth corner off the board. That's a great pick. That's a home run in value. Look how good that is. So I think right now at 24, Jacksonville getting Joey Porter Jr., home run for Jacksonville. With how good they've drafted recently, and how good their team has been, and with how weak that AFC South is, absolute home run for Jacksonville at 24. All right, moving on. Apologies for that, chat. 25, this is now the Chargers pick. So it's technically, this pick has been traded multiple times, and it's going to stick with the Chargers. And I think this is a replacement for Khalil Mack, and they're going to go Myles Murphy from Clemson. People think this guy is really high, ranked very, very high. I don't see it personally. I think Myles Murphy, he's good. I can't deny. He's very good. But do most teams really want to pass on a guy like a Nolan Smith or a Lucas Van Ness? Do they really want to pass on guys like that for Myles Murphy? I don't think so. Solely based on the conferences that they've played in. You had a guy from Georgia and a guy from Iowa. And compare him to Clemson. And the reason I don't like Clemson edge threats this year especially, look how bad the ACC was. Okay. The ACC, I think, had a very bad season as a whole. I think if the ACC was stronger in a lot of areas, I think this Myles Murphy can be in the top 15. But right now, I have him going at the 25th selection. 26, we're going to go to the Cowboys. They're going to keep their pick, and they're going to go linebacker. This can be a linebacker or a tight end. I think people think this could be a tight end. Remember, a couple of years ago, they tried to draft Kyle Pitts, and he went much higher than a lot of people expected. This could be, I think, a guy a lot of people like here will be Michael Mayer from Notre Dame can go here. But I think this is your replacement at middle linebacker for Van Der Esch. And I feel like they're going to go with Drew Sanders from Arkansas. This could be Jack Campbell from Iowa. I feel like that could be another possible pick. But right now, I think they're going to go with Drew Sanders. I feel like he's very good up the middle. Just going to cause chaos. I think he's going to pair well in that linebacking core with Micah Parsons. 27. We're already up to the 27th pick in our mock draft here today. And they're going to, in Buffalo, I think they need to go wide receiver. Now you're probably asking, what wide receiver can this be? Who else is there? Underrated name to go with. I feel like this could be Jalen Hyatt from Tennessee. There's a lot of people who I feel like this can be. I mean, you want to go value? I mean, I'm going to go with Jalen Hyatt here. Jalen Hyatt from Tennessee is going to be my pick here for Buffalo. This was not my original pick this morning. But Jalen Hyatt from Tennessee, he's not the tallest guy in the world at 6 feet tall, but I feel like with Buffalo's situation with Diggs, you want another receiver in case you might have to trade Stephon Diggs. I don't think Buffalo wants to trade Diggs, But if you don't trade Stephon Diggs, look how impactful a third weapon can be for Josh Allen at wide receiver. I mean, you can have Diggs and Gabriel Davis, and that's good. But to add a guy like Jalen Hyatt at 6 foot and he can move, who wouldn't want that type of pick? Even if you trade Diggs, this is even better because this is a phenomenal value pick. People say he can go in the second round. I think he's a good enough wide receiver to go in round 1 on next Thursday night. So moving on, we're going to go to the Bengals. I feel like this could be tight end as well. This could be tight end as well. Unfortunately, it's not going to be. They're going to take Osiris Torrance, a guard from Florida. There's a guard from TCU that could possibly go here. But I feel like the Bengals may reach. Their O-line, kind of trash for the quarterback. And you have to protect your quarterback. Basically you need to protect our quarterback. Osiris Torrance at 28. I feel like it could be good value. Maybe a little bit of a reach. I think you could play a guard. You can maybe move him to tackle if you really needed to. And I feel like Torrance will be a good selection for Cincinnati. Help you protect your franchise QB. Hopefully they pay Burrow soon. I mean, quickly, they need to pay Burrow. I mean, I can dive more into information like that later. But basically with the way the QB market is, or how much you're going to have to pay Burrow, I feel like Torrance here would be a good pick. Next up, the Saints. They're going to pick another guy who I'm following a lot. And they're going to take Brian Brees, a defensive tackle from Clemson. Similar reason to Murphy why they're going to fall. Because originally, when I've done rankings before, no tight end for the Bengals. I know. I feel like, quickly back to the Bengals, I feel like they're going to trade up for one. I feel like in the second round. Not in the first round, in the second round. But to continue, Brian Brees, good inside stuffer. He can run stop. He's a good rush guy, rushing the passer. Just how bad the ACC has been, I feel like his value will drop a little bit. And I feel like Brian Brees, though, I still think is good value as a late first round pick. I still think he's very good. He's going to go to number 29 to the Saints, who do need that inside presence. Remember that. So, who did you end up picking for the Vikings? I went safety. I did go safety for Minnesota. I mean, I was originally, fun fact about this, I originally had them going line, and then I adjusted the Jets pick, and then there was no good tackles left. So I feel like I feel like Minnesota can go a million directions with their pick. But right now, I do have them taking Branch. Yeah, Brian Branch. I have them taking safety at 24 with Branch. 23, excuse me, with Branch. Eagles at 30. Don't trade their pick. Do you think Cook will get traded? No. On the Bills? No. I don't think they'll trade. They don't need to. The Buffalo Bills can draft running back later. And then if they really want to trade Cook, Dalvin Cook. Oh, my mistake. My mistake, chat. Dalvin Cook. I feel like good question. I think they're going to cut him. Or it's a cut or a keep. Because the trade value you're going to get on him is absolutely awful. That, one, I don't think many people are going to trade for him because of the cap hit situation. The Bens are dominating the chat right now. That's facts. I wasn't expecting this. Yeah, I do think they could possibly cut him. 10.6 million cap hit. I don't think many people want to pay that to a running back. I mean, Dalvin Cook's very good, but with how long the contract is and what the payments can be in the future, and his contract can go to 15 to $16 million. So, with the situation with Buffalo, Eckler, they're not moving. I think they're going to re-sign him. Eckler, they're going to re-sign. There is no way they messed it up this much where they don't sign Eckler. I feel like you're going to find more about Eckler when the Giants sign Barkley and what he's going to get paid. But the Chargers don't have to do anything yet. I don't think so, at least. But back to the draft. After me quickly talking to the chat. I love this, by the way. Hope you guys can, by the way, join us on Thursday. But number 30, the Eagles, they need defensive tackles. Why not go younger? Why not go with the youth, Eagles? They're going to select Kalijah Cansey from Pittsburgh. Adds that interior presence. Feel like this is a good fit for the Eagles. Kalijah Cansey, who went to a school in Pennsylvania. I feel like they're going to get another good Pennsylvania-esque college player. And then the final pick of the first round is the Seahawks. Remember, they traded down to Kansas City. And I feel like the Seahawks are going to go defensive back and add to what they already have in that defensive back department. I feel like this is going to be a home run pick. One of those underrated guys, I think, in the first round, Cam Smith from South Carolina. I feel like Cam Smith, this is going to be a great, fantastic value pick. I think the Seahawks can go multiple ways. Maybe they draft tight end at 31 if they want to trade down. So right now, I feel like Cam Smith is going to be your good value pick. Cam Smith is versatile. He can play multiple corner positions. I feel like with pairing him with Tariq Woolen, home run. But mentioning, I do have a couple notable non-first round picks that are going to go. Cowboys going tight end? No. They need to replace Van Der Esch. Van Der Esch, I think, is a little washed. They don't need to. I mean, they could. I think they might trade up for one in the second round with the Bengals. Because mentioning Darnell Washington and Michael Mayer, both tight ends, you can very easily see them go. They lost Schultz, true, but I think their defense still needs work, and I feel like linebacker, or maybe they go corner with Cam Smith at 20. I believe at 26? At 26, I feel like they can go corner as well. So, I mean, Dak did throw to the tight end a lot. However, that could be that's a good point when them losing Schultz. I feel like that could be a tight end as well. That's a phenomenal point. Is that Gans? Yeah, it was Gans. Of course it was. Yeah, that's a very possible selection. I feel like they would go Washington, just because of like his impact at Georgia. I think he might be the better pass catcher. It's a coin flip for me. What they would do if they were to go tight end. It is possible. It is very possible that they go tight end at 26. But Anton Harrison, the tackle, I don't think at Oklahoma, I don't think goes in the first round. Some experts do think he goes in the first round. I don't think they do it. I really don't know if I think you look down from 25 on, which is where a lot of people may have him. From 25 to 31, I don't see a team needing offensive tackle. Maybe the Saints, but I don't think so. I do think he's good, but I think he'll go early in the second round. And then my other notable one, if the Bucks do not trade down from 19, I feel like Hendon Hooker could go to Tampa Bay if they don't trade down. Actually, no, sorry, excuse me. If the Buccaneers trade down with the Giants to 25 and then don't trade up again, Hendon Hooker could possibly be the pick at 25. So, yeah, quickly in a second, I'm going to run down all the picks of what we have. Not all good. I'll quickly go through the picks, read down all the picks in a moment. But yeah, Hendon Hooker, I feel like could very easily go in the first round. Issue ACL injury. Remember that. And he's old. But if you're Tampa, if Bijan Robinson's already taken, this should be Hooker. I do think so. So quickly rocking through the picks before I go into some other news from around the sporting world, because we don't talk about certain sports. And there's one of my teams that I want to say a quick note on in a moment. But quick rundown from what we have. We have Bryce Young going first to the Panthers. Texans take Anthony Richardson instead of CJ Stroud because of the situation with the agent being related to Sean and all that. Vegas trades up at the third pick, and they select Stroud. Fourth pick is Will Levis to Kentucky for the Colts. Seahawks at 5 take Will Anderson out of Alabama. 6 is Jalen Carter going to the Lions. Cardinals, who traded down with with Vegas, they select Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon. 8th is Tyree Wilson out of Texas Tech going to the Falcons, really boosting that defensive line that I still think is the worst in the NFL, and it's not even close. Number 9, the Bears go Paris Johnson Jr. out of Ohio State, an offensive tackle. Eagles' first pick is going to be Devin Witherspoon out of Illinois. 11th is Lucas Van Ness out of Iowa going to the Titans. Texans take Jackson Smith and Jigba. Granted, this would take more sense, but at the same time, if they had Stroud, this would make more sense. but I think they're going to reach for wide receiver. They need a receiver. Their wide receiver room is so bad that I feel like they need to take this pick. The Jets at 13, they're going to select Broderick Jones out of Georgia, an offensive tackle. 14th, the Patriots are going to go Darnell Wright. This could be a receiver, but I think Darnell Wright, just because of the draft history with the Patriots as a whole, Patriots could very well trade down from the 14th selection. Moving right along, 15th was the Packers. They're going to take Jordan Addison, wide receiver, USC. 16th, the Commanders select Deonte Banks, defensive back from Maryland. 17th, the Steelers are going to select Peter Skoronski out of Northwestern, offensive tackle. 18th, the only tight end to go in the first round for me. The Detroit Lions select Dalton Kincaid out of Utah. 19th is our first trade up in a while. The Giants move up with trading with Tampa Bay to select Quentin Johnson. Sorry about that. 20th, we have Kansas City trading up with the Seahawks. They're going to select Zay Flowers out of Boston College. Bucks move back up to 21 to select Bijan Robinson out of Texas. 22nd, we have Baltimore selecting Nolan Smith. 23rd, Minnesota takes Brian Branch. 24th, the Jags take Joey Porter Jr. 25th is now the Chargers. They're going to select Myles Murphy from Clemson. 26th is Drew Sanders going to the Cowboys, a linebacker out of Arkansas. 27th is Jalen Hyatt, wide receiver, Tennessee. 28th is the Bengals. They're going to select Osiris Torrance, a guard from Florida. 29th is the Saints. They're going to go Brian Brees, defensive tackle out of Clemson. 30th, the Eagles keep their pick and select Kalijah Kancey, defensive tackle out of Pittsburgh. And finally, the Seahawks, who trade down with Kansas City, they select Cam Smith, defensive back out of South Carolina. So the last few minutes, we'll answer any questions you guys, the two of you have in the chat. Do you think the Jets will extend Quinnen Williams? It's more obvious now that they're going to do it. Based on that Instagram post that Quinnen Williams had at the Jets training facility, I think, was it 2 days ago now or yesterday? There was like a picture that came out with Quinnen Williams' Instagram with the training facility with his brother. So I feel like that's a much bigger possibility that the Jets will extend Q. How much will he cost? No idea. This can range from, I feel like he's going to be the most highest paid defensive tackle in the NFL. And for good reason. I think Quinnen Williams is an absolute game changer. The Jets need to re-sign him. I feel like they could re-sign him before Rodgers gets traded. If they trade for Rodgers, I feel like they can go extend Quinnen Williams to a much team-friendly contract. Thank you, by the way. And I think the Jets can very well extend Quinnen Williams before getting Rodgers. Especially if they don't like what the price is for Rodgers. Heck, maybe they trade for another quarterback in the NFL. I mean, you've heard the rumors a month ago about Stafford. I think the Jets might do it if they don't have to throw much away, if they can fix the contract. I feel like that could be a possibility as well. So that is my first round. That took way longer than I thought, by the way. But yeah, so the last few minutes, let me just quickly go over some news from today. Yeah, thank you, by the way, for the mock draft. Appreciate it. Thoughts on the Sixers losing Embiid. By the way, I want to bring this up real quick. First of all, two things. How did the Celtics losing yesterday make my pick look worse? Same with the Cavs. If you didn't watch my show when all the guys here into the stands, we did the our NFL playoff predictions, and we went with I said the Cavs win in 5, and then the Knicks have a 2-1 series lead. So maybe I jinxed it, and maybe the Cavs win and the Knicks win in 5. So I mean that's an interesting one to look up. But Doc Rivers not sure when Embiid's coming back. I think could be a concern, but right now I think with the way the Sixers are, I mean they're rolling right now. The Sixers, they're up 3-0 on the Nets. They're playing right now. Nets currently with the lead, but I feel like the Sixers should sweep today or take it in 5. I feel like it should be very straightforward. Oh wow. Oh my god. Soccer. Yes. Someone just I know messaged me this morning to talk soccer. It's been a very interesting soccer season. I'll dive into this for the last 10 minutes. Soccer this year has been very interesting. I mean, yesterday I saw probably one of the most interesting soccer games I've ever seen. I mean, I've seen a lot of crazy ones. You saw with the World Cup. If you guys didn't watch the World Cup, the games that were in the World Cup were absolutely crazy. Like madness on the streets. So, my club, by the way, is Arsenal. The squad is currently bottling it. They drew Southampton yesterday. I was happy and frustrated with that result because we've had double-digit point lead. I'm comparing them quick to the New York Mets, and here's why. Because if you remember back in the fall, in the summer, the Mets had a big lead in the NL East, multiple game lead, and what did they do? They bottled it. Arsenal did the same thing. Because their gap to City with I believe City is a match at hand. They're currently up 3-0 against Sheffield, I believe, in the FA Cup. So, right now, I think Arsenal is gonna bottle it. Unfortunately, it's sad for me, being a fan of the team. I mean, every team I've rooted for this year has bottled it in some way. The Jets did it, losing all those games at the end of the year. The Mets did it in September. And Arsenal is doing it to me again. So, at least on the bright side, Arsenal did it. I mean, Arsenal technically will be in the Champions League next year. That's what I'm happy about because that was my expectation. I didn't expect to be as a fan of the club to be this high in the places right now in the Premier League, but I mean, right now there's not much else to talk about that we didn't talk about on Thursday. I mean, I'll quickly look if there's any other news to talk about. Oh, someone DM me about yeah, so today was Accepted Students Day. That's literally why I'm here. Someone asked about the Pikachu. That was for the esports. I didn't realize that the Pikachu came by. I mean, you've seen if you watch the episodes, we did have some weird things walk by the screen. I think it was Pikachu last time. I don't remember. But yes, a Pikachu did walk by the screen. I saw it in the because the way the monitor looks, I did see it in the corner of my eye, but when you're reading pics off, you just really like lock in and don't really pay attention to stuff like that. Um, real quick, baseball. Um, because I've talked about actually no, we'll keep going soccer because we don't talk about it enough on stream. Because to be fair, I mean it's not a sport we really talk about on Into the Stands very much. With the full squad here. Um, I mean, you want to look at the way everything is. I want to talk about Chelsea. I think Chelsea can be a talk we can do I can do for the next 2 minutes or so. Chelsea are a mess. They are the equivalent of the Yankees in soccer. Hey, I can make another comparison right there. Chelsea lost out on Nagelsmann, the former manager of Bayern, after they sacked Graham Potter. They sacked 2 managers this year. I mean, I think I believe what was it 60+% of managers were sacked this year in the Premier League, and I think that's horrible. But right now, Chelsea is the equivalent of the Yankees, just throwing out big contracts to whoever they want. The Enzo Fernandez deal, back in January. If you look back at that deal, they paid 120 million for this man, and he's on a 7-year contract. That's outrageous. That is absolutely outrageous. Because at the end of the day, first of all, I know Fernandez didn't want to leave Benfica, but at the end of the day, 120 million is 120 million. So it's some money you really can't pass on if you're a Benfica in that situation. But Chelsea, they bought Fernandez, they bought Mikhail Mudryk, they bought other pieces, and they're still I think they're. Let me check the standings real quick. That's an interesting result today, actually. Chelsea are 11th, 5 points behind the Bees, the Brentford Bees. That's absolutely crazy. I mean, just the way this season has gone has been absolutely ridiculous. You have Liverpool in 7th, I think is comedy. that Liverpool's in 7th. With the squad they have, they're in 7th. The relegation battle is amazing. I mean, you have Southampton, who I think everyone had falling down this year. Nottingham Forest, who I think has been underwhelming. But I feel like with look at Forest. I mean, they played a good match today against Liverpool. But they have a tough schedule left. I mean, they have Brentford and Southampton still to play. But they also have Chelsea and Arsenal and Crystal Palace. So with the games left, could Forest get? I don't know. It's gonna be really sad if Leicester falls down though. Because if Leicester City go down, I mean that squad won the Premier League not that long ago. It may seem like a long time ago, but Leicester City won that Premier League title over some powerhouse teams. But if you want to talk about how weird this season has been, Manchester United, I need to talk about this. I remember hearing in my DMs criticism about Arsenal losing to Sporting on the first Thursday of March Madness. Sporting is a good team, and Arsenal was injury plagued, and it was 2-1. No, it was 2-2, and we lost on pens. Manchester United just got absolutely ran off the field by a team was in the relegation battle in La Liga, in a worse league than the Prem, and you lost 3-0 to them. I believe it's 5-2 on aggregate. Yeah, injuries. Your team is still better. Arsenal was not. I think Arsenal was a very good team. Look how injured Arsenal's backline was, and we only conceded 2 goals. Y'all conceded 5. Granted, 2 of them were own goals. So I think that could be negated. But your team arguably is a better attack, a debatably good midfield. I'd rather David De Gea. I don't know if I would rather De Gea or Rams. Actually, I would keep Ramsdale. I'd rather Aaron Ramsdale than De Gea. Right now, I mean, the Jets, not the Jets. Arsenal's center backs are so bad. I mean, they need Saliba back. William Saliba, I feel like, has been really good this season. Arsenal's moves next on the summer, briefly, what I think they need to go center back depth. I think Rob Holding should get moved instantly. The first day of the transfer window, you should be moving Rob Holding. I mean, I think the dude's rocking like a 6.2 right now. I feel like it's something like it's bad. Like what he's done this season is bad. I mean, look at how many better options Arsenal can sign, and then understand that Rob Holding has been their third best center back for like 3 years now. With how good Arsenal is expected to be, and Rob Holding is your third best center back, needs to change. But Gabriel and Saliba, world class. A world class center back duo. But you need a third to go with them. But I think that talk will be for another time. As thank you all for tuning in to my NFL mock draft. We went over it. The last 10 minutes are really about soccer because maybe we can call this the football on football stream, to be honest with you. But thank you guys for tuning in. The guys who tuned into the chat, the 2 of you in the chat today, I appreciate it. All the viewers who viewed my content and the group's content all year, we really appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching. This Thursday, NFL draft stream. How it's going to work, I believe it's going to be broken into 3 parts. You're going to have our pregame with the college football fanatic, and then we're going to have our second stream. I think this is how it's going to work. We might change it. We'll let you guys know officially what it is, but the plan is going to be a stream from 8 to 10. You can always check out my link the link in my bio on my Instagram at @rbasil_11. If you want to check out, always get news about Into the Stands from there, or you can follow at Into the Stands for more news. But I think 8 to 10 is going to be our second stream. Remember, we have the college football fanatic from 7 to 9 overall, and then Christian. You remember Christian from the World Cup. He's going to be here from 9 to 10, and the big guns come in. The closer comes in to finish the day with Cameron Woolley, the Woolly Mammoth, who you can see on this coming Wednesday. He has a great show, and he's going to bring a ton of energy to the 3 of us we'll have energy still. It's just going to be a long day for us. with the team, and we'll finish it. The three of us will finish out the rest of the draft because, to be honest, this draft can go till midnight. Who knows? I think no one knows how long this draft's going to go because you've seen drafts go for it's like 11, 15-ish, and you've seen drafts go for much longer. But that will be all for the stream today. We'll see you guys on Thursday for usually the entire team, but today I'm Robbie Basil. We'll see you guys on Thursday.